So we're standing a block off the water and a block off Beacon on Bevan Street, which is the main street in Sydney, and we're looking at a really juicy vacant lot. It's got condos all around it. I don't know, I think that's opportunity. Anyway, we're gonna grab a coffee at Gray's, which in my opinion is one of the best cafes in Sydney, BC. Probably to go, thanks. That's all, please? Yeah, that's all, thanks. I think one of the great things about Sydney, BC is, besides its walkability, there are a number of properties that are down on the waterfront and are not multi-million dollar acreages. So it just allows waterfront to be a little bit more affordable. As you can probably tell by now, Sydney is probably one of my favorite spots on the peninsula. Really walkable, a ton of great affordable properties right on the water, and then you have all these amazing parks and walkways that run most of the waterfront. Let's head down to the pier and see if we can catch some crab. So this is one of the 2 piers in Sydney where they do allow crab fishing for Red Rock and Dungeness. And actually you'll see little marks along the edge of the railing here from where people have pulled a rope up. It gouges the wood. I think there's a lot of agents out there that talk about waterfront and the lifestyle, but I really think that you have to live it in order to really understand it. And if we look out here at the end of this pier, that's where I live on Sidney Island. So if we look off to the left here, you can actually see the entrance to the Port of Sydney, which is hands down one of my favorite marinas in Sydney. They allow live aboard status, they've got great customer service, and you're 10 seconds from the grocery store if you have your boat there. So really, really great location. And you can also see the Sydney Aquarium and the fish market that's down on the opposite pier. Oh, let's take a look, yeah. Can we look?
Yeah, we had some there.
Oh, nice. Oh, Red Rock. Oh, and a Dungeness. Yeah. Oh, tasty. Okay.
This looks nice, eh?
Yeah, no, so nice, yeah.
Yeah, very nice, eh?
Yeah, yeah, you can see Sydney Spit and...
people come here for look around the ocean. Really nice, too.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure.
Mm.
Nice.
这个大的，
我的啊，让他去放在里面。
Well, as you can see, some people love Sydney so much that they'll never leave. Yeah, so great little beach here in Sydney, and it never really gets toasty warm, but it's a great spot for a refreshing swim in the summertime. I think something that Sydney's done really well is reserve some of the waterfront for the community. I mean, it's really nice to own your little magical piece of waterfront, but it's great for everyone else to be able to enjoy it as well, especially a little beach like this. This is definitely one of the more spectacular pieces of real estate on the Sydney waterfront. And the kind of neat thing about this is that you've got a spa and hotel built into the building. I think one of the most asked questions I get when someone comes from another city or another country and wants to move to Victoria is, where can I eat some fresh fish? Well, you can buy it right here. Yeah, it's kind of interesting on the fish market here. They've got a logo of a killer whale or an orca, and in fact, you can actually sometimes see J-Pod cruising by right on this pier here. And this fish market's great. You do get fresh crab and fresh octopus and rockfish and salmon when they're all in season, so great spot to visit. If you want to eat not just at the water's edge, but actually above the water, here you go. So this area here is the Sydney Amphitheatre, and this is where the Canada Day celebration will be in a couple of weeks, and there are concerts here, protests, everything. Great little spot. We're just waiting to get into probably one of the best places in Sydney for kids. Still waiting. And here we go. I think we're in a submarine right now.
Doors closing. Flood main tanks. Prepare to submerge. Destination, the Salish Sea.
All right, let's go take a look inside. I'm always talking about waterfront being a way of life, and short of us getting in our dive gear or in our fish boat, it's pretty hard to see this type of life. So I thought I'd bring you to the aquarium and show you some of the things you'd see. The really neat thing about the BC oceanfront is actually it has almost as much biodiversity as a coral reef. It's just cold water.
You're very welcome to reach in and touch things. You just have to wash your hands first to get
Okay.
the sunscreen and floats and whatever.
I don't know if I need to. I've touched it all before.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
it's an option. Well, we've been here for 12 years.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Yeah, I've recommended lots of kids come in here, but I've never been in.
Well, I'm glad you came. All the specimens that are in here are local, from the Salish Sea. Everything in here is from the Salish Sea. And the water that's in these habitats is pumped right in from out front, and it circulates like the tides 4 times a day. So everybody said, oh, why is the water so cold? Well, it's straight from the ocean. Yeah.
That's very cool. And how are the starfish doing these days? Are they recovering from their?
They're making a comeback.
That's
They
good.
Are. Yes, they're making a comeback. Unfortunately, the sun stars, the big ones, are the ones that were hit the hardest.
Oh, they were.
And they are making a much slower comeback than the others.
So that was the aquarium, guys. And you know, if you've lived on the West Coast your entire life, maybe this is old news to you, but if you're moving from Toronto or some landlocked state, this is a great spot to take your kids, and then they can learn about all the amazing adventures they can have living on the West Coast. And the adults love it too. I know I did. So we're just walking down Beacon now, and this is the main strip of Sydney, and we're going to take a look at some of the amazing shops they have here. You really don't need to leave Sydney. Everything's here. Groceries over here, restaurants, clothing stores, everything. I've got a young niece and nephew, and this is where I buy all their gifts. It's a really great toy store. I think Sydney has traditionally been known as a bit of a retirement community, but it's not that anymore. It's much more mixed. I'm selling lots of young families into Sydney. It's more affordable. There's actually some affordable waterfront, which is kind of what we're talking about today. And it's just such a great walkable community that you don't need to leave. And if you're not really into the hustle and bustle of Vancouver, Toronto, or even downtown Victoria, this is a great option. So Sydney really has everything, even a Starbucks. They've got a theater, restaurants, but I think now let's go check out some of the amazing waterfront neighborhoods. So we're standing at the end of Beaufort Road, which is just about a 2-minute drive from the actual downtown area of Sydney. And this is, I think, some of the most amazing waterfront in Sydney. A lot of it's south facing, so you get really nice exposure. And as you can see behind me, you've got some really gorgeous bespoke homes in this area. And just around the corner from these homes is where you'd put your boat at one of the 3 large marinas there. So obviously some really gorgeous, very large homes. And I think, again, one of the things I really like about Sydney is that it's very down to earth and lacks pretense. So obviously we're on Beaufort Road right now, but there are a number of really, really quiet dead-end streets just like this in Sydney. This is probably the nicest area because it's so close to Sydney. We're actually going to pop over to the Tryon Road area, and that's a little bit further out, a little closer to the ferries, but also a really amazing neighborhood. We'll see that next. So hey guys, I'm just standing at North Saanich Marina, which is one of the big marinas in Sydney, and I think it's really great to have marinas because not every waterfront property is able to have a dock, or it's just not feasible to have a dock. Not to mention they're expensive and there's a lot of maintenance. So if you don't want that and you just want a really turnkey solution, this is a great spot. And if you're lucky enough to grab a boathouse, keeps the boat nice and clean and dry, which is even better.